Hello everyone. So in the last class we have discussed what is anxiety disorder and what are the different types of anxiety disorder like generalized anxiety disorder, social anxiety disorder, panic attacks, post-trauma anxiety disorder. So these were the different types of anxiety disorders, and also we have seen the clinical signs and symptoms of each kind of anxiety disorder and also the diagnostic parameters. And now today in this class we are going to start with treatment of anxiety disorder. Okay. So we'll be studying different types of anxiety disorder individually. So first we'll be starting with the treatment of generalized anxiety disorder. First is goals of treatment. So what are the goals of treatment for generalized anxiety disorder? So the main goals are to reduce the severity of anxiety disorder and also duration and frequency of symptoms. That means how frequent that is there, that has to be decreased, and improve normal functioning of the individual. So these were the main goals of treatment. And in the long-term goal includes minimal or no anxiety symptoms for longer duration and no functional impairment, prevention of recurrence, and improved quality of life. So these were the long-term goals. So once again, I'm repeating. Long-term goals are minimal or no anxiety symptoms, no functional impairment, prevention of recurrence, and improved quality of life. So these were the goals of treatment. And non-pharmacological treatment. So what is the non-pharmacological treatment that we can give for anxiety disorder? It includes psychotherapy, that is through short-term counseling sessions. So they'll be conducting some counseling sessions will be conducted. Stress management, cognitive therapy, CBT, that is nothing but cognitive behavioral therapy, meditation, supportive therapy, and exercise. So these were the non-pharmacological ideas that we can go for this generalized anxiety disorder. Psychotherapy, short-term counseling, stress management, cognitive therapy, meditation, and supportive therapy and exercise. So these were the non-pharmacological treatments. And then the patients with generalized anxiety disorder should have psychological therapy compulsory, even if they are taking medicines or not. Along with the medicines, also we should give this psychotherapy, that is psychological therapy like meditations or stress management or CBT. So this kind of non-pharmacological treatment is very much important, even though we are giving certain medications to treat this anxiety disorder. And also they should avoid caffeine, means coffee and tea, stimulants, excessive alcohol, and diet pills. These should be avoided when you are treating these anxiety patients. And then hydroxyzine is considered as a second line agent, and pregabalin produced anxiolytic effect similar to lorazepam and alprazolam and venlafaxine acute trials. So when they have conducted some acute trials, it was found that pregabalin gave the same response which was given with lorazepam and alprazolam. And the side effects of these drugs include sedation and dizziness, and the dose should be tapered over 1 week to discontinue. That means when like we have started the patient with pregabalin or any anxiolytic medicines. So once the patient is improving, what we do will be stopping the dose. Before discontinuing the dose, slowly we should taper the dose, and only then we can discontinue the medication. Quetiapine, which is a second generation antipsychotic, it is also given for treating this anxiety disorder. So it is given in the formulation of extended release formulation, and it was given the dose of 150 mg per day. So when it is given as 150 mg per day, quetiapine, then it showed best results compared to any placebo effect. And also it is same as effective as paroxetine. Its dose is 20 mg per day, and escitalopram, that is 10 mg per day. So these were the other drugs, but even these also give certain anxiolytic effects, or they also provide good response. But compared to these three drugs, quetiapine gives the response very fast. So there will be earlier onset of response can be seen when we are starting the patient with quetiapine. So this is all about this generalized anxiety disorder, normal general approach. So what were the drugs that were given for treating this generalized anxiety disorder? First-line drugs include duloxetine, escitalopram, paroxetine, sertraline, venlafaxine, extended release. XR means extended release. And second-line drugs include benzodiazepines like lorazepam, carbamazepine, and all, buspirone, imipramine, and pregabalin. These were the second-line drugs. And alternatives like hydroxyzine and quetiapine. About these drugs that we have discussed now only, right? Hydroxyzine is given as second-line agent, and quetiapine gives acute response. So these were the drugs that we are generally using for generalized anxiety disorder. So non-benzodiazepine drugs include antidepressants like duloxetine, escitalopram, imipramine, paroxetine, sertraline, and venlafaxine. These were the different brand names. And escitalopram is given as 10 mg per day dose, initial dose. Paroxetine 20 mg per day. Sertraline 50 mg per day. Venlafaxine 37.5 or 75 mg per day, depending on the severity of the individual. So these were the initial doses. So these were the usual dose range. Like maximum dose of duloxetine is 120, escitalopram is 20, imipramine 75 to 200 it can be given, paroxetine 20 to 50, venlafaxine 75 to 225 mg. So out of all these were accepted FDA approved, and these were also available as generic forms. Not only the branded drugs, these generic forms are also available. So generally, escitalopram will be suggested in when you see number of cases. You'll be seeing this Lexapro will be given. Lexapro, Zoloft, and Effexor can be seen. And azapirone, it contains like buspirone. Its brand name is Buspar. 7.5 mg twice daily can be given, and usual range is 15 to 60. If it is 7.5 mg twice daily, that means 15 mg. So if we are increasing the dose till 60 mg, we can increase the dose. It is also FDA approved and is available generically. Diphenylmethacin, that is hydroxyzine. This is a second line agent, and its dose is 25 to 50 mg 4 times daily. Till 200 to 400 mg it can be given, and it should be given in the divided doses of 50 to 100 mg only. Anticonvulsants like pregabalin, it is available in the brand name Lyrica, which is generally prescribed by doctors when treating this anxiety disorder or any psychiatric disorders. Lyrica will be given. It is given in its initial dose is 50 mg thrice daily. Its usual range is 150 to 600 mg. When we are giving this Lyrica, we should be very much careful in the kidney patients, because it further worsens the condition of renal impairment. So you should be careful when we should make certain dose adjustments when you are giving this in renally impaired patients. Atypical antipsychotics like quetiapine XR, that is extended release, it is given as Seroquel XR 50 mg at bedtime. Maximum dose is 300 mg. So out of all these, if you see certain prescriptions, so mostly you will see commonly like Lexapro, Effexor XR, and Zoloft also can be seen, and Lyrica. Generally, these were the brand names that you generally see when you are seeing prescriptions related to anxiety disorder. And not only these remaining things were also used, but mostly these were the drugs commonly used. So antidepressants, so these are efficacious for acute and long-term management. So they are considered as a first-line treatment management of chronic anxiety, especially in the presence of depressive symptoms. If the patient is having depressive symptoms along with anxiety, the best choice of drugs is going to antidepressants. And when you're starting the patient with antidepressants, it takes near about 2 to 4 weeks to show the good response. And the drugs like SSRIs and extended release venlafaxine and duloxetine, these were effectively used in the acute therapy. And when these drugs were given, is like the outcome is like 60 to 80% of the patients responded positively with these venlafaxine and duloxetine. And tricyclic antidepressants, so these cause certain side effects like sedation, orthostatic hypotension, anticholinergic effects, weight gain. So, and they are very toxic on overdose. So when you are giving these tricyclic antidepressants, you should be very much careful when calculating or when adjusting the doses, because when even in the overdose, it causes major side effects or adverse events. And then benzodiazepine therapy. Benzodiazepine therapy. So the benzodiazepines like lorazepam, alprazolam, so these were given. These are frequently prescribed drugs for the treatment of acute anxiety, and it requires 2 weeks to show the good response. And these were most effective for somatic and autonomic symptoms of generalized anxiety disorder. So these were most effective for somatic and autonomic symptoms. And so how does they help in treating these anxiety disorders? It is GABA. These benzodiazepines, what will they do? They will cause a potentiation of GABA activity. So by this method, it will help in the controlling this anxiety. And the dose must be individualized. There is no proper dose like like for example, for paracetamol, it will be like 650 for everyone who is having fever, adults. But when coming to these benzodiazepines, like that, we should not calculate the dose. It should be calculated individually. So individual patient will be having different doses. So depending on first, like certain factors, this dose should be individualized. And elderly are more sensitive to benzodiazepines. So if we are giving these benzodiazepines to elderly patients, they may experience fall when taking them. That means they may fall due to any giddiness or due to postural imbalance. So you should be very careful when you are prescribing benzodiazepines to the elderly patients. Adverse effects of these benzodiazepines include CNS depression, and tolerance usually develops to this effect. That means after using these benzodiazepines for a certain period, you will develop tolerance. That means you will not respond properly to that particular dose because they develop some tolerance. And other side effects include disorientation. They cannot be stand properly. There will be disoriented speech or disoriented posture. So this kind of things can be seen. And psychomotor impairment, confusion, aggression, excitement, and anti-retrograde amnesia. That means you'll be forgetting the things and memorizing the old things. So these are the different adverse effects when you're taking these benzodiazepines. And then abuse, dependence, withdrawal, and tolerance. Abuse. So some people, they'll get addicted to these benzodiazepines, and those with a history of drug abuse, they should not take benzodiazepines because it further worsens the condition of the patient. And those with GAD and panic disorder, they are at high risk for dependence. Why? Because like once if you're starting these benzodiazepines, they'll be completely dependent on that. That means if you're not giving that medication on that day, they'll feel so aggressive, anxiety, and sleeplessness. So they become there is a chance of them being dependent on the drug for a chronic illness. And their dependence is defined by appearance of withdrawal syndrome upon abrupt discontinuation. So that dependence can be explained as or can be termed as withdrawal syndrome. That means if you suddenly stop giving these benzodiazepines, they'll be having certain withdrawal syndromes. Means they'll be having anxiety, they'll have giddiness, they'll be having some kind of delusions, hallucinations. So all these kind of withdrawal symptoms can be seen if you suddenly discontinue benzodiazepines. So these are the things that will be happening when we are discontinuing benzodiazepines. So how to discontinue without any withdrawal syndrome? So after the patient is improving properly, we want to discontinue benzodiazepines. Then how will you discontinue the medication gradually? So first is, if you're suddenly discontinuing it, what are the events that will take place? First is rebound symptoms. So that will be there immediately. That means for what we are treating, that symptoms will be started immediately. And transient return of original symptoms with increased intensity compared with baseline. So we are giving this benzodiazepines for anxiety, right? If you're suddenly stopping these benzodiazepines, what will happen? The patient will be so aggressive and the symptoms will be so severe compared to normal disease of the patient. That is rebound symptoms. Second is recurrence or relapse. Recurrence or relapse means, so the patient is cured now, he's good, he's well and good, but after 1 or 2 days, again the symptoms will be repeated, and this frequency will be repetitively will be there with same intensity as before the treatment. And third is withdrawal is the emergence of new symptoms and a worsening of pre-existing symptoms. So not only getting these symptoms of the disease which before treatment, along with that some new symptoms will be developed. So these were the three kinds of events that may take place after we are suddenly if we are stopping these benzodiazepines use. So what were the discontinuation strategies? So how to prevent these kind of events before discontinuing these benzodiazepines? The first is 25% per week reduction in dosage until 50% of the dose is reached. For example, if you are giving it in a range of 100, so slowly we have to decrease the dose. First, we have to decrease 25% of the dose. That means we have to give 75. After the 2 to 3 weeks, again we have to decrease the dose of again by 25%. So again after decreasing, it reaches 50%. Till then we have to slowly decrease the dose every 4 to 7 days. That means at least we have to maintain a time gap of 1 week. And then if therapy duration exceeds 8 weeks, like if you're giving these benzodiazepines for more than 8 weeks, then we have to taper the dose for every 2 to 3 weeks. If it is only for shorter duration, like for every 1 week, we have to decrease the dose. And if it is for a longer duration, then we have to decrease the dose for every 2 to 3 weeks. But if the duration of treatment is 6 months, so if it is given for more than 6 months, then we have to taper the dose for every 4 to 8 weeks. More than this 6 months, then we have to decrease the dose by for every 2 to 4 months. This is how we should decrease the doses or taper the doses accordingly. And also adjunctive use of carbamazepine or pregabalin can help to reduce withdrawal symptoms. So like when you are decreasing the dose, along with that decreased dose, if we add pregabalin or carbamazepine, so that we can prevent or inhibit the withdrawal syndromes or during this tapering process. Okay, so first we have to decrease 25% of the dose, and again after 25% till it reaches 50% of the dose, we have to make these taperings. Depending on the duration of like how many days they are taking this medication, depending on that there will be time gap between this each tapering. Okay, if it is for like for every 4 to 7 days we can reduce the dose, and if the therapy duration exceeds 8 weeks, the time gap between this tapering should be 2 to 3 weeks, and if it is 6 months, the time gap should be like 4 to 8 weeks. If it is more, at least 2 to 4 months time gap should be there between each tapering. So this is how you discontinue these benzodiazepines, and not only along with this tapering, along with that you should give any certain adjunctive medications like carbamazepine or pregabalin in order to prevent these benzodiazepine withdrawal syndrome. And then buspirone therapy. So it's a 5-HT1A partial agonist, and it is used as a second line agent for generalized anxiety disorder. So when we have to give this buspirone, if the patient fails to give response when they are treated with these any other anxiety medications, and also if the patient is having any alcohol or substance abuse, so in that conditions we have to go for buspirone. So it does not provide responses immediately as provided with other anti-anxiety agents, but it gives the response slowly and gradually. It takes a long duration to show this response, but it is very much useful in the patients who are having this alcohol abuse and substance abuse. Dosing includes, it can be titrated in increments of 5 mg per day for every 2 or 3 days as needed. So the onset requires at least 2 weeks to show its response, and it is very much it is less effective in patients who have previously taken benzodiazepines. So if they are already taking benzodiazepines, then this does not show much efficacy, does not show much effect if they have been already treated with benzodiazepines. So then evaluation of therapeutic outcomes of generalized anxiety disorder. So first we have to monitor anxious patients every 2 weeks for reduction in anxiety symptoms. So for every 2 weeks we have to ask the patient to come for review, and we have to identify how far the differences are there after taking these anti-anxiolytics or after using these anti-anxiety medications or anxiolytics. And also we have to check for any side effects were there, either psychologically or physically or laboratorily. So there is a scale called Hamilton Rating Scale that is used for anxiety, or Sheehan Disability Scale, and this helps in measuring the drug response. So these scales were nothing but there will be certain questionnaires will be there, like there are about 10 to 20 questionnaires there. Each question they will be having certain points. So depending on the total score will be we can come to conclusion that whether the patient is responding properly to the medications or not. So this is how we evaluate the outcomes of the patient after taking certain medications like benzodiazepines, antidepressants, buspirone, and also certain antipsychotic medications. So this is all about the treatment of generalized anxiety disorder. Okay, and now we'll be going with panic disorder. So when coming to panic disorder, what were the goals of treatment? The goals it includes like resolution of panic attacks and marked reduction in anticipatory anxiety, elimination of phobic avoidance, and resumption of normal activities. These were like whatever the symptoms are there for panic disorder, all that should be resolved, and there should not be any recurrence of these symptoms. So these were the goals of treatment. And then coming to general approach. So for panic disorder, what was the drug of choice? SSRIs, that is selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, were the drug of choice for panic disorder, for treating panic disorder. So most patients without agoraphobia improve with pharmacotherapy alone. But if there is agoraphobia, what is agoraphobia? That you have to tell me in the next class. What is agoraphobia? It's nothing. Okay, you have to tell me that. So CBT typically is initiated concurrently. So along with normal treating with medications, we also have to provide this CBT. CBT is nothing but cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a psychological therapy. So educate the patients to avoid caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, drug of abuse, and stimulants. And usually the patients are treated for at least 1 to 2 years, that is 12 to 24 months before discontinuation is attempted over 4 to 6 months. And many patients require long-term therapy, not only 1 or 2 months, 2 years. It may take more than that time, more time compared to that. Single weekly dose of fluoxetine have been used for maintenance. For maintenance therapy, we'll be giving fluoxetine. This is a treatment algorithm for treating panic disorder. If the patient is having panic disorder or if the patient is diagnosed to be having this panic disorder, then we have to assess whether there is a requirement, urgency to start the treatment or only non-pharmacologically sufficient. So is treatment urgent for patient to function and no history of substance abuse? If yes, then we have to start with short-term benzodiazepines for 2 to 4 weeks and SSRIs, that is selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors or venlafaxine. And if it is not required, then we have to go for SSRIs or venlafaxine. And we have to assess whether the response is good or not, that is whether there is adequate response, yes or no. If it is yes, then we have to continue the medications for 1 to 2 years. If there is no adequate response, then we have to switch to another SSRIs or venlafaxine. And again, we have to check whether there is an adequate response. If there is adequate response, then we have to continue the medication for 12 to 24 months. If there is no proper response, again we have to change to another SSRIs or again we have to change to from SSRIs to we have to change to antidepressants or other SSRI or imipramine. And again, we have to assess the response. If there is an adequate response, we have to continue the medication. If there is no response, then we have to add benzodiazepine or gabapentin or a typical antipsychotic to antidepressant. And again, we have to assess this adequate response. If yes, then we have to continue the medication for 1 or 2 years, depending on the patient's recovery response and also relapse of these events. So depending on that, either it is 12 to 24 months or more, depending on that, we'll be knowing. So the drugs mainly used here are benzodiazepines, SSRIs, venlafaxine, and also certain antipsychotic medications or antidepressants. So depending on that, will be depending on the outcome of the patient, depending on the response of the patient, we'll be changing the medications. So this is a treatment algorithm for panic disorder. As you said that antidepressants like imipramine, how does it affects or how does it helps in panic attacks? So imipramine, it blocks panic attacks within 4 weeks in 75% of the patients. Reducing anticipatory anxiety and phobic avoidance requires 8 to 12 weeks. So for blocking these panic attacks, it requires 4 weeks. And for preventing this phobic avoidance and anticipatory anxiety, it requires 8 to 12 weeks. Completely, it requires a treatment for 12 weeks to 12 to 24 weeks. And coming to SSRIs, they will eliminate panic attacks of patients within about 4 weeks. So within the 4 weeks, that is within 1 month, these panic attacks will be reduced. But patient requires, some patients require 8 to 12 weeks, like about 2 to 2.5 months of time is required to become free from these panic attacks after using SSRIs. And approximately 54 to 60% of the patient becomes panic free on extended release venlafaxine, which is an antidepressant. So its dose is like 75 mg or 150 mg. So when if you are giving this medication, it requires the patient becomes panic free. Most of the patients. So these was all about antidepressants for panic attacks. And benzodiazepines were considered as second line agents for panic disorders, except when rapid response is essential. And alprazolam and clonazepam are also frequently used benzodiazepines, and these require 1 to 2 weeks to show a response. Dosing and administration. So starting dose of clonazepam is 0.25 mg twice daily. So then gradually we have to increase the dose to 1 mg by third day. And increases by 0. First we have to give 0.25 mg daily and then to 0.5 mg every 3 days to 4 mg per day can be made if needed. So depending on the requirement, we have to slowly titrate the doses. Starting dose of alprazolam is 0.5 to 0.5 mg 3 times daily Clonazepam it is twice daily. For alprazolam it is thrice daily. Slowly we have to increase the dose over several weeks as required, and most patients require 3 to 6 mg per day. So final last the doses range is 3 to 6 mg per day when we are giving this alprazolam. So panic disorders, the drugs, first line drugs are SSRIs and venlafaxine extended release. Second line drugs include alprazolam, citalopram, omipramine, clonazepam and imipramine. Alternatives include phenelazine. So these were the drugs that we'll be using for panic disorder. And then social anxiety disorder, the goals of treatment include to reduce the physiological symptoms, psychological symptoms, phobic avoidance, and increase the participation in desired or in social activities, so to make them socialized and to improve the quality of life. So these patients with SAD, they respond very slowly and less completely than patients with other anxiety disorders. So after improvement, at least 1 year of maintenance treatment is required. If the patient is treated again, is improved, even though after improvement, it may require at least 1 year of maintenance treatment to continue this. Why? Because it's a slow process, and CBT is nothing but cognitive into behavioral therapy and pharmacotherapy. Both should be used simultaneously in treating these social anxiety disorders. So, in CBT can lead to greater likelihood of maintaining response after treatment termination. So, even after stopping this treatment, also we have to continue this CBT. So, and also CBT and social skills, they provide very much effectiveness in children who are having this social anxiety disorder. And drugs like SSRIs, serotonin, norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors, these were very much effective in children of 6 to 17 years of age. And like up to 24 years of age, it should be very much closely monitored for the increased risk of suicide. That means the children who are having this socialized anxiety disorder, they are more prone to commit suicide. So you should be very much carefully monitor them in order to prevent their suicidal risk. So this is the treatment algorithm for treating generalized social anxiety disorder. Once the patient is diagnosed with social anxiety disorder, we have to start with SSRIs or venlafaxine extended release for 12 weeks. And if there is response, then good response, then we have to continue for 1 year, that is 12 months. And if there is no response, then we have to shift to another SSRI or venlafaxine XR. And if there is partial response, then we have to continue augmentation with buspirone. That means we have to add buspirone along with SSRIs or venlafaxine. Either buspirone or clonazepam can be added. And if there is partial response, and if there is no response, we'll be shifting to another SSRI or venlafaxine. Even after that, if there is inadequate response, then we have to switch to an alternative medication, that is phenelazine. And after using this, if there is good response, then we have to continue the medication for 12 months. And even though after converting to phenelazine, if the patient is not responding properly, then we have to consider gabapentin or pregabalin. So after that, if there is good response, then we have to continue the medication for 12 months. This is a treatment algorithm for generalized social anxiety disorder. So these were the drugs, brand names, initial dose and usual range. Citalopram, SSRIs like citalopram, escitalopram, fluvoxamine, paroxetine CR, sertraline. CR is nothing but control release formulation. Drugs, brand names, Celexa, Lexapro, Luvox, Paxil CR, Zoloft. These were the doses. Initial dose of citalopram is 20 mg per day, escitalopram 5 mg per day, fluvoxamine 100 mg, paroxetine 10 mg, paroxetine control release 12.5 mg per day, sertraline 25 to 50 mg per day. This was the usual range. These were the initial doses. SSRIs. Then serotonin norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors include venlafaxine. It's a valvular FXR XR 75 mg per day was initial dose, and usual range is 75 to 225. Benzodiazepines, clonazepam, MAO inhibitors like phenelazine, Alternative agents like buspirone, gabapentin, and pregabalin. Pregabalin is Lyrica, 100 mg 3 times a day. Gabapentin, Neurontin, 100 mg 3 times a day. Buspar, 10 mg twice per day. So these were the different drugs that we are using for social anxiety disorder. And the last thing is post-traumatic stress disorder. That is after trauma, because of that stress, if they are having these anxiety symptoms, then we call it as post-traumatic stress disorders. The goals are to decrease the core symptoms, decrease the disability, comorbidity, and improve the quality of life. And immediately after the trauma, the patients should receive treatment individualized to their presenting symptoms. So depending on the presenting symptoms, then after the trauma, we have to give treatment. If the symptoms persist for 3 to 4 weeks, and there is social or occupational impairment, so then they require pharmacotherapy or psychotherapy or both. So if the symptoms persist for more than 3 to 4 weeks after the trauma, and if there is social or occupational impairment after trauma, only to that patients we have to provide both pharmacotherapy or psychotherapy or both. Either pharmacotherapy or psychotherapy or both. Both should be initiated for treating these kind of patients. And psychotherapies include stress management, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, and psychoeducation. So these were the different psychotherapies that will be helpful for PTSD. And trauma focused CBT, that is trauma focused cognitive behavioral therapy, and eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy. So these two are most effective than stress management or group therapy to reduce PTSD symptoms. Generally, for remaining three types of anxiety disorders will be going with CBT or stress management or meditation. So that is sufficient. But coming to this PTSD, it requires two different types of psychotherapies. That is trauma focused CBT, trauma focused cognitive behavioral therapy, and EMDP. EMDP is nothing but eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. These two are important for treating the patients with PTSD. So they provide better results compared to stress management or group therapy to reduce the symptoms. This is the treatment algorithm for treating this anxiety disorder, like a PTSD, post-trauma, post-stress disorder. So first we have to start with SSRIs for 4 to 6 weeks, and we have to check for the response. If there is no response, then we have to switch to another SSRI or venlafaxine. And if the response is good, then we have to continue the same medication for at least 1 year. If there is partial response, what we have to do, either we have to increase the dose or we have to add some other drug. Depending on the residual symptoms, we have to add some other drug to this first drug. And so after switching to second SSRIs or venlafaxine, even though if the patient is not responding to properly, then we have to change to third SSRI, venlafaxine or metrazepam, tricarboxylic acids, tricyclic antidepressants. And then if the patient is showing good response, we have to continue. If there is partial response, we have to increase the dose. And if there is a proper improvement, then we have to continue the same medication. If there is partial response, again we have to increase the dose or augment based on the residual symptoms. So what are the residual symptoms in treating this PTSD? So the residual symptoms include sleep difficulties and nightmares. If the patient is having sleep difficulties and nightmares, then we have to add prazosin to the SSRI. If the patient is anger, then we have to add lamotrigine. If there is intrusive thoughts, then we have to add risperidone or quetiapine, like psychiatric thoughts. And hypervigilance also we have to add risperidone or quetiapine. These were the residual symptoms. So depending on these residual symptoms, we have to add these medications. So if the patient is having PTSD and the sleep disorder, sleep difficulty, then along with this SSRI, we have to add prazosin. If he is having anger, then SSRI plus lamotrigine. So this is how we should add augmented medications depending on these residual symptoms. And first we have to observe the patient for at least for the first 3 months. Then for every month we have to check the patient for 3 months, and then for every 6 to 12 like for every 2 months again we have to monitor the patient regularly, and then monitor for symptom response, suicidal ideation, disability, side effects, and treatment adherence when we are treating this PTSD. So these were the drugs and these were the brand names and initial dose. SSRIs like fluoxetine, paroxetine, and sertraline were used in treating PTSD. Available as dosage forms as brand names Prozac 10 mg per day, Paxil or Pexava 10 to 20 mg per day, Zoloft 25 mg per day. And other agents like amitriptyline, imipramine, metrazine, phenylazine, venlafaxine extended release were also given for treating PTSD. So again, so evaluation of therapeutic outcomes, there should be proper response. The patient should be symptomatic free. There should not be any suicidal ideations or thoughts. And also we have to check this any side effects were there and how the patient is responding to the treatment and whether they are taking the medications regularly or not. So depending on all this, we can come to conclude whether the patient is responding to the treatment properly or not. So this is how we evaluate the patient's therapeutic outcomes. This is all about PTSD, treatment of PTSD. So we have discussed treatment of generalized anxiety disorder, social anxiety disorder, panic attacks, and PTSD. So with this, the topic for treatment of anxiety disorder is finished. I hope everybody is clear with it, and thank you all.